Good afternoon and welcome to Marshall County Watch, watching out for you. I'm your host, Vernon Briggs, and we got a lot to unpack today. I was invited to Russ College for a Q&A, and the Q&A involved Benita Fountain and also Roy Woods. And we got a special guest in the house this afternoon, I should say, Mr. George Zinn. He is the county supervisor, and he's also the president of the superintendent board. And I gotta say this about these guys. Um, New organization started by John Selden is going on right now at Royal Chapel down on 72. They're having a yard sale. It's some great deals down there. Get down there. Uh, and make your own price. You can make your own price on a lot of stuff. They don't want to pack this stuff back up and don't want to take it back with them. So you can go down there and get a lot of deals. It's mostly women and children's clothes. So make sure you go down there. And what we're going to do, we're going to bring in now Mr. George Zinn. And he's got a lot of stuff to uncover. Call in. Let's go live. And you can ask him questions about what's going on in Marshall County. Mr. Zinn?
Uh, Good afternoon as well, and thank you, Mr. Brigg, for allowing me to come on to your podcast here to talk about a few things. I do have a few things that I'd like to kind of talk about here on this show. First of all, let me just say to you, I really appreciate what you're trying to do here in an effort to try to clarify things and, give opinions. I think that's something that's much needed. There's a lot of things that's going around, but they're not always factual. And, a lot of things are centric to the point where you have to figure out, what's going on. I think these kind of shows are perfect for people to kind of, ask a few questions and then give them an opportunity also to do a little research. I think it's mandatory that everybody do a little bit of research on their own, and you don't necessarily have to take, someone's word. Sometimes there's an old saying, pick up a lot of stuff from, the barber shop and under the shade trees and all this kind of stuff, which is not really, factual at all. So for your efforts you're trying to put on a show like this, I really commend you. I'd like to, first of all, before I you get started a little bit, I like to say something. Again, let me just say good afternoon to everybody who's listening right now. But I want to do a disclaimer, and that's to kind of protect myself there because I am a sitting elected official, and I wanted to be known that I'm not here today representing the boards of supervisors in any manner. I'm an individual that's just speaking on my own opinion and thoughts about what's going on. So I don't want anybody to take anything out of context there and say that I'm misrepresenting them. Speaking 100%, myself and George Zinn. Nobody didn't authorize me to come to speak on nobody's behalf. Just me. Just want to make that clear so that it don't pop back up some kind of way. I don't want
Yes, sir.
to
We understand.
and also, I'm not here to bash anybody or drag anybody or do anything negative. But I was tuned into your show on last week there, and one thing that's kind of caught my attention just a little bit because it was a little discussion about a lot of the development that's going on up there in Chickasaw Trails and the industry and everything that had come in. Well, I just kind of want to touch on it a little bit there and give you my spiel. I'm very proud of the success, the efforts that everybody has put into trying to get that economic development moving in the manner that it is. First of all, to actually develop the park, which is called Chickasaw Trail Economic Development Park. It's a great thing. When an individual decides to go into government, there's a couple of things that weighs heavy on everyone to do it, and I hope that most of them do. And that is number one, to create jobs. That's number one. The downside, the other side of creating jobs, that means that you improve your standard of living. It also help improve or strengthen your tax base. It's simply meaning that whereas you divide your responsibility between one or two people, you divide it between 10 people. So that makes my burden just a little bit lighter. Now, uh, right now, there was a lot of effort going into this. This started a little bit before my time, but it just started to bloom out, once I had been in some years. And one thing that helped it tremendously was the I 269 that was developed that came through that area. Now, right now, there is approximately 36 different companies that's located up in the Chickasaw Trail Industrial Park. Now, there was some state. I'm gonna try to touch on some of the ones that contributed. They got a thing what we call taxes in lieu, and also we have what we have where we give. I mean, there's abatements. Now, one thing too, I think is very very
Mr. Zinn,
important.
what is exactly is a abatement? What is that?
That means that that there's some effort or strategies put forward to attract people into your area, and that abatement is your
Yes, sir.
tax.
Got it.
Now, the one thing that's important, there are multiple counties, 82 counties in Mississippi, and Marshall County would not be the only county that's bidding to try to attract these companies into your area. Your area, I mean, which Marshall County.
Yes.
That means that there are other companies that's pulling that. I mean, counties perhaps that's offering them things that come over here. We want you over here because you can help us, help our growth and development and all of that good stuff. And we right there at the table too. We're bidding. We're trying to offer them some things that will actually come. In that process, there are tax uh, uh, incentives or whatever. Meaning that in some cases they might give them 8 years or 10 years. One thing now, don't lose track of this. No company is ever given 100% uh, tax, write off. Never. There's always, even one that if the county or IDA says we're going to give them 8 years, they're always going to be obligated to pay fire, school, and police. That, and don't matter what kind of deal was made, they're going to pay that.
Okay,
Now,
Mr. Zinn,
there are
that
some
was.
companies.
I'm glad you cleared that up because I was under the impression that these guys, when they got these tax breaks, and I'm pretty sure a lot of other constituents feel the same way or thought the same way, I should say, that when they got these breaks, they didn't pay anything whatsoever. So I'm glad you're on here clearing that up for me.
No, not so. Not absolutely not so.
Yes.
Now, here, look at this for me too, if you would. The county doesn't lose any money, even by offering them those tax breaks for those years. And here's why: most of those properties, all of that land, those are just farmland,
Mhm.
beans and trees. The tax assessment or levy against farmland is minute. Once that company comes in and develops that property out, that at that point, that value of that soars immediately. So we didn't those few dollars we were losing where it was assessed at farmland. We it's not in any comparison to what it would be once a company comes in, develops it out, and build a 50 million, $100 million building on it. You didn't lose any money. And so
Right.
any
Got
taxes that they pay, you're to the good. I mean, you're benefiting. The other side of that is this: a lot of those companies, if they, depending on the value, they are, and what I mean, their investment coming in. A lot of those companies, they come in with their own money. I'll show you one, for example, like Roxel. When it came, Roxel investment right off the top of the barrel was $201 million.
it.
That was their investment coming in here. Now they had incentive that came from the IDA. I'm sorry, MDA in Jackson, Mississippi, but they brought their own money in it to set up place. Now, quickly, I'm going to try to go through some of this because it could really take me a good little while. We start with Roxel. Roxel came in. They were given that they came in what they call tax in lieu. So what they did, they turn around, they try to assess what they would be paying at full scale, on the tax roll. And they pay a percentage of that. I can't tell you what those dollars is. It would have to be, the director who could tell you exactly what that dollar amount was. But they did. They didn't just come in on just, the abatement, meaning that they would have had 10 years, 8 years. They came in what they call taxes in lieu, and they were paying right off the bat. They weren't paying the full scale. But look at this. Roxel has rolled off. That means that Roxel is 100% on the tax roll now.
All right.
They
Now,
didn't
how long
leave.
has that? How long have they been? They've been paying full scale.
I think Roxel has been on the road now for about 2 years.
Okay.
Okay. Now, since then, Roxel had done an expansion. They expanded their company. They expanded their company, and that investment that to expand it was $15 million.
All
And
right.
they now they have rolled off. No, I'm sorry. I'm not. I'm wrong. I don't want to get wrong. I'm going to move to ASIC. ASIC
Okay. The
right now,
chemistry place. Yes.
yeah, which is right across from it. Their investment was $15 million, and right now, ASIC is 100% on the tax roll.
All
One
right.
hundred
So,
percent.
so you're saying we got Aces and we have Roxel?
Roxy and
Okay.
more and more. Now I'm just showing you. Now these companies, as I heard in one of the other cases, somebody said, "Well, they're gonna just
Amazon. They were talking about Amazon.
they gonna pick up and run off as soon as their abatement is over or whatever." Not so. They are still here, and they're 100% on the tax roll. Now,
Amazon is 100% on.
huh?
Amazon's 100% on.
Well, I was still. I'm going down the line.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I was still on ASIC.
Oh, yes, sir.
ASIC.
Go ahead.
Okay, ASIC is 100% on the tax roll. Now you ask yourself, and by the end of the rest of them, was that a good investment? Was that a good business decision to actually offer them that and for them to stay? Just ask yourself, or anybody listening, ask yourself,
Oh,
was that a business? Oh,
like I said, you enlightened
Volvo.
me, and I'm sure you enlightened a whole lot of people that's in the
Okay,
audience also.
Volvo. Moving right down the line. Volvo. Volvo was a company that came here against MDA, which offer incentive. They didn't like Volvo because Volvo was a unionized company. But MDA and Marshall County says, yeah, we still want Volvo in Marshall County. So we stood whatever little incentive that they were asking for them to come in and be a part of Marshall County and trying to build our economic development in our tax base. They, right now, Volvo is on the tax roll 100%
All
right now.
right.
Yeah.
Now, did they
Okay.
come in like that, or did they just start paying 100%?
No, they came in at that abatement there.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Okay, but I could go right down the line. I'm just gonna call a couple of names, some of these companies, and some of these companies has expanded. If I could say, okay, Roxel again. I was started to call it name one before, but Roxel, they expanded their company and they expanded it, to $1 million investment from themselves. Now they also still paying the in lieu of, meaning they're paying taxes. They're not paying it on no kind of a 8 year or 10 year deferment. They paying it right now, but they paying it at in lieu of an adjustment cost price or whatever. But they
Understand.
all of these people are still paying the full the police, uh, the fire, and school. They 100%. There's no negotiation. Never any negotiation about that. Okay. There's a company called uh, uh, it's RBR company. I'm going right down. I'm looking at ASIC again. ASIC, they did they invested in an expansion with $30 million on an expansion. ASIC did. Now they're still on that abatement right now.
All right.
Okay, but Volvo again, Volvo did an expansion and they invested $10 million. That was their investment. Niagara, they came in with their investment of $68 million.
Now, this is my question. Now, you saying investments. What
Uh-huh.
exactly does that mean? I mean, where is this
That
money,
means
the
that
investment, where is this going to?
that was money that they invested in establishing and setting up, their uh, business and everything right here in Marshall
Now,
County.
is that
Now,
money going
they,
into, say, construction jobs when they're doing this expansion and all this other different stuff? Is that what this is doing?
yeah, for sure, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind too. I want you to keep in mind of this. There was a question I think on your last show about, well, if they pick up and leave.
Right.
Now, if
I'll clear that up. I said, just think if they're not paying taxes at all, or they got this 10-year where they ain't got to start paying or whatever, and then they said, okay, we done made all this money and we are saving on taxes. We can just pack up and leave a $50 million business there, and we can just pack up and leave. Yeah, that was one of the questions. Yes.
yeah, but now here the other side of that. Look at it like this: uh, if Niagara, if they came and they put $68 million into a
Mm-hmm.
structure, if Niagara leave tomorrow, they can't take that structure with them.
Exactly.
So what does that mean? That means that that's a structure that's still going to be taxed right here in Marshall County. Somebody owns that. Somebody developed it, and a lot of times, uh, Niagara didn't build that building themselves. A lot of those buildings, like spec, that people will build those, put them in place for them. They'll own them, and they'll come back and rent them and lease them and stuff like that from them. But if they
Listen, I
let,
got a question. Call in, and they want to know. And I know Niagara does it. They donate water and stuff to the schools, and they want to know that these companies do any other assistance to the school. I know, like I said, Niagara donate water, Gatorade, different things. Do all these other companies donate anything to the schools?
now when these companies come in, and there's a whole list that I could go through here and list. Most of these companies, I'll answer that question, but just you can hold your point and hold me back to it. But Nike, when Nike came in, their investment was 90 million dollars. Now Nike, they didn't ask for anything. They
Mm,
didn't ask for me any kind of tax breaks or no incentive, no nothing. They came 100% on the tax roll. And I just, a couple of these is just good to point out. There's somebody else, another company called Quadrant, QUADIENTS. They came on without action for anything, 100%, and a whole list of others. Now
yes.
I could probably go through this stuff for about an hour and a half. But the point is that a lot of these companies were attracted to Marshall County, not so much as they just love Marshall County, but because of the easy access to I-69 and transport and everything. That's another
Right, and
term.
then Memphis is a big hub there, and then
Right. Okay.
it's
But
probably
now,
cheaper here than to build a plant in Memphis. Now,
uh,
one other
now,
thing now
let
that
me let me
I
ask
was
you a
asking,
question.
I want to get to before we get too deep. Uh, do these companies have quotas? Because a lot of people said, well, they got a guy was telling me today when I was down at the garage sale at Royal Chapel that people need to get out and support that today, and it's going to be a great sale. You save a bunch of money, like I said, women and kids clothes. But
Uh,
uh, with that, do they have a quota? Some guy was saying, well, so and so, they got to hire at least 2,500 people out of the district or out of Marshall County. Is that a thing, or we just talking in circles here?
oh no, sir. Mr. Briggs, when the IDA, there's a gentleman that runs the IDA. He's a director there. His name is Justin Hall, and he does an absolute wonderful job. And I have appointees on that board, as well so as every other supervisor. The cities and municipalities are all represented on that board. But it's one thing that they request, but they can't demand because a person need workers to get turn out products, and they can't hold 100% to say you got to have 90% of your people from Marshall. But they don't think that they're not questioned with that. Don't think that they're not asked to do that and pressured to try to use everybody from within Marshall County they can. That's a fact, and I know this now. But to say that everything is filled, I can't say that because work must go on. You asked me a question a moment ago about does these companies uh, give back to the community.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's one area, Ms. Brigg, that troubles me a little bit because actually, I run a nonprofit organization
Mm-hmm.
and I'm legal on every aspect and depth. And I mean, we're good with the feds, we're good with the state, we're good everywhere we need to be. But sometimes I have a little problem that seems like it's hard to get through to discuss with them about assistance now. But I'm hoping that it's time to move on, that there will be a little bit more interest in trying to do things within Marshall County. I am concerned. I had a company, if I could say this, we run a food pantry. It's called Feeding Heart Food Pantry, and we actually serve people on the outside. And I've had some volunteers that was kind of got overcome with heat there in the early part of the summer, and I had appealed to some of those companies to see if they could assist us with getting a couple of those what we call swamp coolers, and I didn't have any real success. I had one company that said we can give you these amount of dollars, but you got to already have these devices already purchased, which average cost was about $5,000 a piece. And I was kind of let down by that. I just thought that they could have taken a better stand. But on the other hand, I want to give thumbs up to a company that stepped in and helped, and that was the Yates Construction Company.
All
Yates
right.
Construction Company. They heard my cry, my plea for help, and the young lady that managed it, his name is Melanie Gay, and she came out and they actually provided a couple of those swamp coolers to help us get through the summer. And I thought that was outstanding
That was really. I mean,
to,
there's a lot of
to,
companies. They're
to
not going to do
highlight
anything.
them
I mean, they're going to
for
get what
their
they can
effort.
get. But from what you're
Yeah,
telling me, I mean, you're enlightening a whole lot of people in the county that these companies are doing something. Because, like I said, I asked a question because it was asked to me, what are they doing here? Because people don't see them doing anything. And I think that's. I would love. I mean, quarterly. Or whatever, that somebody will come on here, even you will come on here and enlighten the county of what's going on. That'll make
mhm.
my job a lot easier. Then it'll answer a whole lot of questions for the constituents. Because I said before that when people run for office, they promise a lot of stuff. And I know when I was a kid, like I said, the supervisor had all power. I mean, he did
Oh yeah, yeah,
everything. And then now only people know the supervisor for is roads, and the supervisor really
yeah.
doesn't do roads anymore. They do a lot of stuff like what you're talking about now.
Right.
And you got 5 people that this thing is going through, and what they need to do, I think, if they when they're running, they come on and say uh, what they want to do and uh, and what they're going to try to do, because a
Right.
lot of people get teed off when you say that you're going to do something and I want my road fixed, and then the road don't get fixed, and then it's that guy's problem because he didn't fix the road, and then that's not really his job anymore. Like we were talking the other day about this gravel thing on the last podcast. People think that well, some supervisor told them they can go in there and you can get many rocks you want as long as you don't use a machine. And I said that's a felony. You can't get
Right.
those are not that supervisor's rocks to give you or tell you can get them. And
Yeah.
but most people, that's all they know is roads. And then since I've moved back in the area, I've learned a lot of different things about what goes on here. And actually, uh, what made me kind of get into what I'm doing right now is I heard you on Holly Springs Radio, and you were saying some things on there that I didn't know. You guys were a collective. I thought you guys were still individuals, and I thought you guys only did roads. I
Yeah.
had a guy told me that, well, my supervisor told me that he the one who got these plants built here. And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the role of a supervisor. And having many discussions with people made me want to dig into it and get somebody like you on and really tell what's going on in Marshall County so we'll know. So when these guys start running for certain offices and doing certain things, or people don't know what's going on in that county, or it seems that nothing is going on, because a lot of people, that's why I wanted you to come on today, because a lot of people don't see what's going on. Because see,
Right.
we don't see the shuffling of the money that you're talking about.
Right. Let me say something else if I could. And I'm
Yes.
going back to my when I came in about the economic development. I would say to everybody, any elected official or anybody in leadership, one thing they want to do is to try to create jobs for their community.
Yes.
Now, when I came on some years ago, actually the unemployment rate here in Marshall County probably was around 11.5% and 12%. And that's a fact. You can check that. Now, right now, today, the unemployment rate probably in Marshall County is somewhere like about 4% or less. And here's
All
here's
right.
why I say here's why I say less. The population in Marshall County is about 35,502. That's what they say. Okay, so you take that and you kind of multiply that out by what we, even if it was 4%, you multiply that out. So that means that they would only, in the whole county of 35,000, it'd only be 1,500 people that's out of work.
Okay.
All right, take this number. Your workforce, your what's considered the uh, the popular workforce in age wise is between 35. I'm sorry, it's between 25 and 54 years of age. That's kind of average.
All right.
Now, once you pull them out of that equation, actually the people who want a job or looking for jobs is probably going to be even less than 4%. Now think
Okay.
about that. So grade people who are in office who work hard for that, give them a grade based on the success that they went into 15, 16 years ago against today.
See, now
That's
that
that's
goes back to that kind of messes with the numbers
mhm.
that I was talking about. That all these
uh,
plants here, and less than 3% of the people in Marshall County work at these plants.
mhm.
So I don't know right off the top of my head, but I will know from what you're telling me what's the real numbers on that 3%, because even with only less than 3% working here,
Mhm.
those numbers got to be pretty low for its unemployment in Marshall County.
Boy, going unemployment. I think, honestly, God, Mr. Briggs, I really
Oh, I
think.
got one question. Let me get this in. A caller call in. They want to know. All right, we can't touch this gravel that's
Right.
out there because it doesn't belong to us. We know we pay tax and all that, so we feel that we should be able to get it. And some supervisors have told them that as long as you don't use a machine, you can get these gravels. What the constituent wants to know is, why are they sitting there if we can't get them?
They're sitting there for convenience for the people who are working the roads, in a lot of cases, to keep from driving all the way back into the base to pick up, a small quantity of rocks,
Okay.
That's
It's like
why
a
they have
holding spot for them.
Yeah, but now they had put forth an effort really to try to get all of that stuff back into one central location. I can tell you, but there might be still a few of them kind of lingering around. But now there has been an effort to try to bring all that stuff home, and so that
Well,
there's
'cause
not.
I know a couple of people that's got in trouble with the law because of that.
Yeah.
And all of them was saying the same thing that, hey, so and so said, as long as I don't use a machine, that I can get them. But we're going to hold 1 second. I got to put a plug in for Lewis Plumbing. Hey, who is the guy that's writing these jingles for these guys? Because he said, Lewis Plumbing. If you got a problem with your drain, call the man at Lewis Plumbing, and he'll get you fixed up. We got another guy, John Selden. If you got a problem with your flow, call John Selden at Selden Construction and Septic Tanks, and that guy get you moving again. We got Tiny Electricity. You got a problem with your electricity, Tiny Electricity, he'll get you right. So make sure you get those guys calling back to the yard sale at Royal Chapel. I mean, hey, you can go down there and make your own price. I mean, you got a grandchild, Christmas coming up. You want to get sharp yourself. They got new clothes with the tag still on them. You go down there and make your own price. They got food. They got drinks. Make sure you stop down there at Royal Chapel Church down on 72. Everybody on here should know where it is. Go down there and make your own price and get you some. Go ahead, Mrs. Zinn. Had to plug my sponsors in.
Okay. Again, Ms. Briggs, I was. I'm not going to go into any of this stuff, but here's what I would suggest about that. I would suggest that anybody who is truly concerned about any of these numbers or whatever. Now, I actually, with most of those companies that I had mentioned there, the monies that have actually been invested into Marshall County in some form or fashion is somewhere around about 3 billion, three
Oh,
billion
sure.
720,640,000. But like I say, these numbers, sometimes it's not good to just talk about a lot of these things unless you understand. Because me, honestly, I think it is a blessing from the good Lord that we're able to attract these companies into Marshall County to try to make life a little bit better for those who actually is looking for employment. I really do. The other side of the coin is, do I think that they could do more in the communities? I do. And I think that there should be some effort put forth by some of these different companies to, they have community involved or related community relations people and the staff. I understand that sometimes it's kind of hard to nail those people down sometimes. I don't know if it's a turnover or what, but I would hope that these companies would take a little bit more interest in now there's one company in particular. Now the state, let me mention something that the MDA, we got money from the state there for that fire department that's going in up there. As a matter of fact, that fire department is pretty much complete right now. The fire department was built the name to kind of recognize Mr. Eddie Dixon, who was a supervisor who passed away tragically. But uh, the state actually put about $3 million or so into that thing. We got
Okay.
another. We come up with another about 2 million that came in from uh, the battery company, which is Amplifier. It comes through in with way of money that went into kind of this came through MDA as well.
All right.
So, but anyway, they're
Now,
just a
how's that
couple.
going to coincide with? Is this going to be volunteer also, or are these
No,
going to be paid?
it's going to be a 100% full time fire department there.
Now,
People,
would that coincide with the volunteer down on 302 down in Brighton, or is that going away, or they're going to work together?
where about you
The
said the
one down on
volunteer?
302, the volunteer one, are they going to be still open once this one is
Oh,
up and
oh yeah, oh
running?
yeah, yeah, yeah. They will still be operating. The volunteer fire departments will still be
Okay.
operating, and there are hopes that they can, collaborate some things so they can work together.
Yes.
In cases where there would be some things that get out of control, they kind of set it up, trying to set it up rather, so that these individuals would be able to kind of come in and assist when and where they can. It's a certain amount of certifications that have to take place with a full-time fire department that may not necessarily be in place with some of the volunteer departments. But I'm sure they'll
Right.
get past all of that good stuff for the
Now
overall.
I got something that came up. It was in the Q&A the other night at Russ College. Uh, Roy Woods came up with something that was good, but I got to clarify something first. I was saying that because Mrs. Fountain was talking about doing something for the kids, or community center, something like that, and I said, "Wait, man, it'll be great to put one over at OMI campus over there in a museum and everything." But I was notified that, hey, that's like 99.9% not going to happen because it's a historical site. It's a historical site, so that's not going to happen. Museum, yes. Community center, no. That's not going to happen. And then another thing is, I got to look into it. Maybe you can tell me. Gatewood Church used to be on Slayton Road. It's a historical site. Now, we can't put this community center over on MI's campus, or Mississippi Industrial College campus, but somebody tore down Gatewood Church, historical site, and built a house there. So I'm like, if you can't put a community center for the community on a historical site, how can somebody tear a church down? Church doesn't belong to anybody. It belongs to the community. So they couldn't sell it to somebody. So I'm trying to figure out, how did somebody tear this historical church down and build them a house there? But the other thing was that Roy Woods came up with was that these plants, why they're not involved with the Full-Tech. I thought it was a pretty good idea, but you probably know more than me. If these plants, they say they got jobs, and they're hot in the summer. These guys, they need jobs, and they give different incentives for a job because that's the high production. So he said, well, you get like 11th, 12th graders, and you go teach these guys at the Votech, and then when school's out, hey, summer program. These guys can go work at these plants for summer programs. We keep them out of trouble. They're making some money. The plants got workers. And then a lot of these people, they're going to phase out because a lot of these people are going to graduate and go to college. But some of those guys, they're going to get used to that money and used to independence. And then they're going to stay in those jobs, and they're already trained. Is that a thing, or it could be a thing, or we just wishful thinking?
I think, Ms. Briggs, the only standoff about that, in my opinion now, is that age may be a factor, age of the individual.
Now, some of them can work at 16. Now, they had a summer program. The county had a summer program when I was a kid, where if you were 16, 17, 18, Mr. Radcliffe used to have, the ball players working for the county, and then had other people working at the school. They were doing janitorial work at the school. And that program went away. When they having budget cuts, something like that's going to go away. But I was thinking, just thinking out loud, that would be a good idea if we can work at 16. But then a plant, on the other hand, like you said, may be an issue with a 16-year-old working there. But I mean, is it something that could be addressed, or you just know 100% that can't work?
Yeah, that would have to be internal. That would be something that the industry or warehousing people would have to make that call on. But I would go back to say that the county actually did that summer youth work program, and it only terminated, I think, about 3 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we used to use those young men that come in and pick up paper and stuff all summer long, and the county.
Right. I know. I was a part of that. And for weeders, we had sling blades out there trimming around people's mailbox. So I remember it well. And I did it for a couple of years, and it was a good program. But if this could work, I think that'll solve even the tiny. From what your numbers saying, the tiny work gap that we have, especially in the summertime, that'll fill that void. But like you said, age restrictions. I mean, I need to research that myself and see what the age
I just
limit is to get into a place like that, and then maybe I need to go to these plants myself and bring it up to them and say, "Oh, but I got a person on inside track, and I can ask her." I mean, hopefully she's on here today and she can give me that answer. She can find that answer out. How old you got to be to work here? Can we get high school juniors and seniors to work here in a summer program?
hmm
And
yeah, that'd be
somebody wants to know on the other summer program, why was it terminated?
um in all honesty, and this is all them honest. It got to be a little bit of a hassle. Some of the young people just were not ready for
You kind
the
of
work.
froze up a little bit, Mrs. M. Could you repeat that, please?
I said to be totally honest, some of the young people just was not ready for the workforce.
Mm.
Some of them just wasn't didn't want to work, and some of them, and let me be totally honest, still that sometimes some of the parents was a little bit overprotective, and they didn't want them to get too hot and stuff like that, and
You
so
know,
they
I
became
the person I was saying that had the inside scoop for me has been telling me that. And I'm telling
yeah,
her, hey, that's not true. These kids want to work. But then now I'm hearing it again that these kids
yeah,
don't want to work. I mean, when I was a kid, that's all I want. I wanted a job. I mean, hey, I chopped cotton from 10 years old until, I got old enough to drive a tractor. And I drove that until the Army came calling. And, but,
yeah.
my kids, they had jobs. When they were old enough, 16, you can make them chop cotton no more. But when 16, both of my sons had jobs.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah,
you want it, hey, you can go to work like I go to work. Hey, I want some money. I need this. Hey, you need to learn how to operate that lawnmower, that weed. I work, they work. They didn't start at 10, but at 16, they were doing something. And
I
that's a
believe this.
change. I mean, jobs are here, from what you're saying, plenty of them.
Yeah,
And these
now,
people don't want to go to work. I mean,
Ms. Briggs, too. Let me say this. Now we was talking about that gap. What we talking about maybe probably 1,500 less. It's probably less than 1,500 people that that need a job, want a job. Now
right,
I
right.
quoted those ages. Now it's a lot of people that says has matured on out of the work age. I mean,
Hmm.
they passed. They even looking for a job that they still counting in the census. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? And a lot of those people are built children, babies. They not even ready for it. So when you pull that out, you probably gonna find that there is no. I mean, there is no. I don't know if the number can be even tabulated. If you want to be
Mm.
truthfully about it, that's the truth. I'm gonna go back to another thing you had. You talked about how they could tear that historic building down. It depends on if that building was actually on the register. If it was actually on the historical register. Now, if it was on that register, it'd be a little hard to go tear, a building or anything down
Wait a
that's
minute.
on
How
historical.
can you go tear a church down? I mean, it's a church. It's been a church. It was built as a church. Didn't used to be a house and somebody turned it. This was built from scratch as a church. That's why I went to Head Start at, because we didn't
Well,
have a school or anything like that. We went to Gatewood Church, uh, Head Start. I went there for 2 years,
well,
and so it was still an active church when I was in Head Start. They just use it during the week, for a Head Start. And you can look on Google, any map. It says Gatewood Church historical site. That doesn't mean it is, but I'm thinking that it
yeah,
is. If it's on a
yeah.
Google map, it's on a printed map, and now it's a house there. So a church, nobody owns it personally to sell it. So how is this house sitting there?
Somebody, some way, somehow had to get access to ownership of that deed.
But
You
just
know,
say the church is abandoned.
yeah.
It's a church. People were going there. The church is dilapidated. People start going somewhere else. The pastor died, and the church is just sitting there. A church,
Who?
it doesn't belong to anybody. So how's it sold? I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking a question here.
Let me. I'm gonna try to answer it, and it may not be the right answer, but I know for a fact because I belong to a church who, that, historically, noted. Years ago now, there was a such thing as people kind of just donating land for a structure to be put up, for a
Mm-hmm.
church. It was just, I mean, it really wasn't any. And even if it was a deed, that they just put a deed and say, "Oh, this is whatever, acre or whatever," and it may not even been that. Somebody might have just said, y'all just go in there and worship as long as you want her, and no problem. And it
All right.
doesn't document it, anything like that. Well, when that happens, that thing would eventually somehow end up at a tax sale.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody would research it. They would say, ain't no ownership, there's no ownership, nobody's coming forward, and somebody claim go through the process and get enough,
Even with a
judges.
church, because I
Huh?
thought churches were like hands off.
Now I don't know about that. I know that like they try not to, if it's a cemetery established on it. I
Yeah,
think
no, the
that.
cemetery is not there. The cemetery it's down the road,
Uh huh.
and the church is over here. The cemetery is down the road. They're not connected. So
Right.
it could be possible. I mean, that somebody said, okay, yeah, I got this land here. You can put your church there, and it's still the landowner still owns the land. They just let them build a church there.
Yeah, just
I
let them
mean,
build church
and it
on
was done years ago. I mean, it could be that, but when I see historical site,
it.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking like, hey, this is you can't touch this. But then now there's a house there, so maybe I need to go up to the land office and see, what happened with that. See,
And I mean that's a good deal. I mean you should follow that because way that thing will normally work is if somebody is trying to encroach on a property line, or they trying to get title to some properties that's not theirs, what they will end up doing is get an attorney to actually run this title what in the paper to see if any owners or anything will come up and claim any interest. And a lot of times they can go back 50, 100 years. I've kind of experienced that, where
right.
people just popped up that were generational way down the line and say, yeah, well, my great grand, and they had to satisfy what they think they need to do to get that totally clear. But now, if nobody comes forth, then that judge can sign off on that and give them title to it. So that
I
this
think
is.
I'm gonna go by the land office there and see, you know, who owns the land, who owned the land before that. Check and
Right,
see
right.
if it's under the register as a historical site, and see, I was just, trying to, see if you knew anything about, far as how could it move from historical site to somebody building a house there. But
That's
it's
pretty
another
hard.
thing. A question that was asked at the Q&A, and they said they asked these people. These are candidates. I don't know how they would know it, but they said, "What is the job of a supervisor?" I'm like, well, that's a kind of tough question to ask somebody that's running for supervisor. And we had one candidate that I don't know. He's started talking about something that didn't have nothing to do with being a supervisor. And Miss Fountain, Benita Fountain, she had a pretty decent answer for the question. I mean, she was kind of batting out of the park. I mean, it's just a shame nobody was there to uh, go up against her. And she she came up with this some kind of slogan off the top of her head. She said, "Well, I can't fly like an eagle when I'm running with chickens." So she kind of called those two guys out today. She said, "I'm the only female that's here, and I'm doing what women has been doing for generations. We always show up no matter what." And I mean, she was just, oh man, it was awesome. I mean, I was like, man, and then she's pretty much funded her own campaign, and if she wins, I mean, it's gonna be, oh my God, this, who wins funding their own campaign, and then I think she's far from the front runner, but she's got a lot of good ideas. And I like what she said. She said, this is what I like to do. I'm thinking outside the box. I don't want to go the same old norm that everybody else has been doing, but this is stuff that I'm going to try to do. I'm not gonna do like other politicians and promise you the world. And then when I don't deliver, now you're mad at me because you gave me your vote. And I think all politicians should do that. But
Oh yeah.
then you were talking about grades. The grades are in. The grades are in. I'm gonna just start randomly. Uh, over in Bahia with Terry Rogers. Last year I gave Terry Rogers a F minus. And the reason I gave Terry Rogers F minus because Terry
I
Rogers,
prob-
he's there.
Now I probably don't need to be in on your evaluation. You might want to wait till you get me out
Well, I
off,
got
right?
10 more minutes. So what I'll do, I, I'll do it. I'll do it next Saturday. How about that?
Yeah,
I'll do it because I don't want nobody to say, oh, Mrs. Zinn was in on and on. This didn't have anything
yeah.
to do with my grades. Nothing
No, I go.
whatsoever. But
Yeah.
this is just the other night. I'm talking about that. I'm not going to talk about grades. They're in, but I'm not going to. But he's not really campaigning, and he didn't show because I think he feels he's got it sold up. He's on cruise control. So, and uh, I met a guy today. He's a supporter. He lives in Bahia. He's a supporter of Ray Woods, and he had some decent stuff to say about him. And Ray's all right. I mean, he had some interesting stuff to say. A lot of it he wasn't prepared for. And then the other two candidates, I mean, they're campaigning, but I think they really should have been at the debate. And because I
Yeah.
really would love, and
And
I'm
to
pretty sure a
close
lot
up
of
the
other
month
people
of
would
March.
love to hear what they had to say about what they're going to do, what they're going to try to do, or something along those lines. But you're not going to be on here next Saturday. And I'm going to put my grades out, and I'm going to let everybody know what everybody going to get and why they got it. And George Zinn don't have anything to do with my grades. My grades are my grades. I mean, hey, I'm gonna tell you what. Hey, I'm gonna report what you're doing. I'm gonna report what you're not doing, and I'm gonna report what you should be doing. And I'm gonna say and ask what the people want to hear. I mean, they talking to me. They want to know things, and I want to know some too. Some of the stuff I asked, they want to know. Some of the stuff that I didn't know that. Let me ask. And that's good. And I hope you come back. And you're welcome anytime. Come back, and all the other candidates, all the other supervisors are welcome to come back and talk to your own constituents and let them know what you're doing, what you're trying to do. But I think where they go wrong, a lot of them, they promise the world and they don't. They have to deliver on it, and because they can't. Oh, before we go, we got about 8 minutes. Uh, Explain this collective thing y'all got now versus what you used to have, so people understand that. The supervisors have all power now. It's five of y'all, and y'all got to kind of agree on
Oh,
stuff to get stuff done. Explain that for the audience, please.
okay. Um, some years ago, uh, the county was under what they call a beat system, and the beat system was the form of government where all five of the supervisors pretty much the revenue that came in for roads or whatever, they divided five ways. You were given your 1/5, and you could go over there and buy all the gravel in the world, and you could build your shed over there on your place. And at our time, they were building it on their personal properties and things. And you could, the equipment you buy, but it was yours, and you had to make sure that you got through your season, your budget year, with your fifth. Now things changed, and for the better, because under the system we're on now, we have the road manager and administrators, and all money is just go into one plate, and the road manager is supposed to evaluate the needs of the various districts, and he in return supposed to put those funds, that equipment, that whatever, into that area to make that sure that road or bridge or whatever is maintained adequate, balanced all the way across, the county. Now there are monies that come in. You get assistance from the state on bridges. You get some assistance from the state on certain roads, but there's a process to getting an average road on a system. That road has to be come up to a certain standard before the state aid would even consider to look at it. But that's basically the difference. I think that, just my honest opinion, I think the beat system was, a lot of people kind of got in a little trouble, and I think some of them, paid the cost for it. But it was a lot of abuse, I think, that went on during that beat system.
Now, what about
I,
this driveway thing? People saying that, hey, you should be able to pay my driveway from my mailbox to my garage door.
That's a good question, and I'm glad you asked that question, because your driveway, it belongs to you. It belongs to you. It don't belong to the county, and the county should not have to pave your driveway no more than the county should have to paint your house
Right.
or to change the shingles on your
So can
house.
they do anything to my driveway?
No, there's no responsibility to take taxpayers' dollars and do anything personally for you, because at that point it's a never ending process.
But I thought they
Everybody.
could do a culvert or 15 feet or
Oh,
something
oh,
like
oh,
that. Is that
oh,
possible?
oh, yeah, yeah. Off of every county road, there, what the county looks at and the state looks at is right away, normally coming off the edge of a road, a county road, and in most cases it's at least around 25, 30
Okay.
foot. Okay, well, if that drainage ditch is right there beside the road, naturally, the county will be responsible for actually putting a cover in, and they'll actually cover it, with adequate rock at that particular time. And
And that's 15 feet part of it.
yeah, 15 to 20, 25, somewhere in that area.
Okay.
It won't be that precise, but it won't hardly go over that.
Now
Now,
I
some
got one
people,
more. For as the supervisor, I mean, does the supervisor, my district supervisor, has really anything to do with roads? Period.
yes, and now, let me say this. I have the opportunity. Now, the road manager, he is supposed to kind of, along with the foremans, and each district has a foreman, they supposed to kind of keep a pretty good track of the conditions of the roads. I
Hmm.
mean, because they are out there every day. The supervisor really don't have the responsibility. Don't They're not even supposed to be out trying to micromanage anything like that.
Mm.
Period. Now, if the road manager or whatever, if they missed something, they didn't see something, and I have a constituent that will call me and say, "Hey, Mr. Zinn, there is a serious hole in one of the main streets down here. You might want to look at it." My job then is to get on the phone. Okay, call the road manager and say, "Hey, Mr. Road Manager, I got a call from one of my constituents, and they say we got a serious problem brewing such and such a place." Matter of fact, I had a similar situation on Friday. Someone called me and said there's a stop sign that has gotten spun around, and people are fixing to have a catastrophe here because people are not. Adhering to that stop sign, and
Right.
I called them up. And they got it, come right on. It was after hours, but do I have responsibility to go out and try to just dictate directly? Now, we can make suggestions. Don't get me wrong. We can make suggestions that
But I won't see you out on a site with a shovel or pointing
no,
and directing anybody to do it. Those days are over with.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is not done. We don't run behind the foremen and the people who working on it day to day. We All of that responsibility is the road manager. If I had an issue or concern about something, I suppose to talk up with him and negotiate that with him to get it corrected. And that's the way that works. I do not have a reason to be. I'm not supposed to be on any equipment, operating any kind of equipment of any kind. Well, I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with my ability to run and operate it, but it's against policy, against the law, actually.
All right, Ms. Zinn, we got 1 minute, and we got a constituent that want to thank you, as I do. I want to thank you also for coming in. I mean, you gave us a lot of good information there, and I appreciate it. And you're welcome back anytime. Uh, back on the show. We'll be back next Saturday. Let everybody know we're on here every Saturday at noon. And if you got stuff that you want to put out there or get out there, you can text me, call me. You can come on here live. You can put it on my Facebook page. And then we're also on, if somebody missed it, you can go to YouTube or Facebook and we'll be there. I also got to put, along with the grades for next week, I also got to put the debate or the Q&A on here from Saturday. Not Saturday, Friday. I got my days crossed up. No, I think it was even Thursday. Oh, my God, Thursday. But 3 seconds, and see you next Saturday, and we're out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Zinn.
All right.
Bye.